Hi, everybody. This is Mike Power. I know the election's over, so I've been getting a lot of emails and text messages from people asking me what I've been up to. A lot of members still call me for work. Like I said, I can only do what I can do to help people. Uh, Things are slow out there. You don't need me to tell you that. Times are tough. It's a rough world on it. But I got a couple things I want to talk about, and then we'll get back to what I think about the work, what's going out there, what's screwing us up out there. Um, One of our main things is I'm going to start a podcast. All right. If you haven't received an email, some people I've sent emails out to people. I'll be sending a lot out to our leadership, to people in the union, to all trades. This isn't going to be just for the carpenters. It's going to be for everyone in skilled trades in New York City, the metropolitan area, to get a better outlook on what's going on, what we're up against. We've been going to talk to some contractors, just get their opinion on work, try to talk to some developers, try to get a one-on-one complex sit down to see what's going on with our industry. Some of my things that I was talking about was, you know, our work is right now, we're in stages, right? We're all counting on these casinos that are starting up, right? Um, I think it's going to be Bally's up in the Bronx, right? That's a big project. I think it's up where Trump had his golf course. The funding's not there for that yet. I mean, it is in the works. I think that's a $5 billion. Hold on, I wrote it down here actually. That's a $4 billion project. That one, right? The money's not really set up for that yet. Bally's is having issues in other parts of the country with their casinos. I wouldn't hold our breath that giving in completion date at 2030. Pretty much all these casinos except the one in resorts. They're saying it's going to be 2026. We both know that that's not possible. They haven't even broke ground on some of the stuff getting over there. But this stuff is the red tape takes a little time to work out. Me personally, the one in resorts world, I think that's going to hit a lot of problems. I traveled to and from Brooklyn for quite a while when I was working in Brooklyn. I understand how that Belt Parkway is a nightmare. I don't know how you're going to put a casino there with a conference hall and have concerts and do that with the traffic the way it's already there. So then you're going to get a lot of blowback for the community over there. So I see that one being a tough one to sell to the community. What do I know? Money brings money in, and we'll see what happens. The one with Steve Cohen, and it's going to be Hard Rock, the one over by State Fields. That one pretty much a go. I think that's the most expensive one there. I think that one's going in at about $8 billion. That's how big it is. It'll be called Metropolitan Park. Several acres. They're going to have concert venues there. Sounds like a good idea. It's a good location, I think. They think they want to put the ferry system in there for the airport anyway. So maybe that ferry system will put people in and out there with shuttle that can get people to the casino, which bring a lot of work to our brothers and sisters out in the outer boroughs and stuff like that. How that affects us and how people are asking me what's going on with the contract. I know they're deciding certain PLAs with it. I wouldn't hold my breath, guys. Like I said during the election, if you guys take a look back, our leadership that was there, they were there for 13 years. Back in like 2010, 2011, 2010, I think it was, right? When they signed the contract back then, we were about $99 at that contract. We're at $108 now. So if you look at it over this period of time, 13, 14 years, we've got a 9% increase, right, over that period of time. Not including market recovery rates, B rates, all these other givebacks that we've given back throughout through our contract negotiations, right, and hardships that we've given to these contractors. We lost a large substantial work in the private sector. Most of our work is going to be infrastructure work, like the airports and these casinos, hopefully. How these contracts work out will be determined by our leadership, how they work it out with the PLAs and the trades with the building trades. A lot of them in the other boroughs, it could be time and 8-hour days and certain holidays, which isn't the end of the world. I know there was something going on, I think, at the tennis courts over there. I think R&J is over there and someone else is over there. Papco, that's what it is. It's not R&J, it's Papco's over there. And it's a Queens rate, and I know they're having a hard time filling it because a lot of guys don't want to go that big reduction rate. So they have consequences when they do these reduction rates. Sometimes the company guys will get the full rate, but anyone else who gets sent over there, they get the reduction rate. So guys, if you're out of work and you're starving, you're going to jump on those jobs. For the ones who can be picky, you're not going to take them, right? That's just the way it is. A lot of members reaching out to me. They're working for companies. They're double-breasted. listen, I'm not going to say anything than what you should and shouldn't do, right? You got to put food on your table. I don't personally agree with it. That's my opinion. I'm not going to, I could give you 1,000 reasons why not to do it. If you got to feed your family, I guess that's the main thing. Working for these contractors, I don't understand why you go into the city for a few $100 when you could probably make money in your local neighborhood, cutting deals. I know one guy, he's banking his hours, he's working for cash while he's collecting unemployment. That's what he told me. He's doing a contractor, and he's doing pickup work for them. Like I said, listen, guys, you'll get away with it until you get caught. That's the best bet. Have a good line of shit when you get caught. I mean, chances are our BAs really don't walk jobs. Shop stewards really don't check anybody. So the chances of getting caught are slim to none, if you ask me. So, but you're conscious of doing something, right? You're building on a pension annuity. But if there is no opportunity like that, and you got to put food on the table, you do what you got to do. Those are your decisions, not mine, right? Like I said, I don't walk in your shoes, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's a lot of that going on out there, and I understand it. People have to feed themselves, and people also, they get stuck in these positions with these contractors. The unions don't have the power they had back in the day. There's no oversight. What are you going to report it to the IGs? Nothing's going to happen. You'll just get yourself fired is what will happen. If the BAs ever came to a job, they're going to look the other way. And if they know something's going on, believe me, they're going to avoid your floor with everything in their power. They're going to make sure they show up at lunchtime. They're going to make sure they show up whenever it is possible not to run into you. They're never going to show up at coffee. They're going to make sure that they can avoid everyone on the job, or make sure that you're not by yourself, so you can't answer a question by yourself. They'll come talk to you when you're in a group of people, trying to avoid being questioned on something. That's what they usually do. And they're actually, a lot of them tell each other to do that because they don't, if they don't know, they don't have to fucking say nothing. That's the attitude, right? If you don't know there's any rules being broken, you can look the other way. It is what it is. You're on your own when it comes to it. Like I said before in the beginning, we went from $99 to $108. Our pay came up a little bit. Their pay has gone up a tremendous amount. Business agents, organizers, guys who work at the council, so they're in a different plateau than us. They beat to a different drum. So their obligation is to those people down there running the leadership. So they're going to do as they're told, and they're going to dodge whatever bullets they need to dodge until someone holds them accountable, which doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. This is the game we're playing, right? So we just roll with the punches. That's why I think having a podcast and reaching out to the members and all our trades and try to get an idea what's our best interest is the best way to go. I had a lot of members reach out to me. A couple of them took the job with the city. Congratulations. I'm not going to say who you are, but they took the labor's job with the city. Told you it was a good opportunity. Take the job, get your foot in the door. Carpenter's test will eventually come your way, just like the plasterer's test, painter's test, elevator, mechanics, whatever test comes your way. Those jobs are very important to fill these positions in the city, and people, there's a lot of job openings in those positions to go up. A lot of people weren't going after them, so I commend people for going after it, going for the interviews and put the application in their resume, especially with the laborers. A lot of you don't know there is no test for the labor. After you're hired and you work for the city for 52 weeks, you're automatically civil service. So for a lot of people, that's an opportunity to get your first foot in the front door. If I'm not mistaken, I think the laborers are making just under $50 an hour, like 48, 49, which isn't too bad. $6, $7 less than a carpenter. And let's face it, you got the 8-hour day with a 7-hour day, so they work out pretty good. And with the guaranteed overtime they pretty much get, and they're not killing themselves. Believe me, guys. They can usually set themselves up in a good position and then move on from there. You could take supervisor tests and do whatever you want. As soon as you get your foot in the door, you make a move from there. So I commend a lot of people who listened to me and took that opportunity and ran with it. Same thing when it became painters and took opportunities to grab those jobs. Those are good. We've actually had one retiree that took the job, which is he listened to me. He agrees that it'd be a good opportunity if we lose our benefits, that this builds his time with the city. He'll have those benefits on the side. I talked to a lot of people about disability insurance. For some of these guys who don't know, I actually got injured at work myself. Accidents happen. Luckily, I have Aflac. City council members have Aflacs. We don't get it on the field because of the way it had to be set up with the payroll. I pay for it myself. It comes directly out of my bank account every month. I've had it for years and years and years. And when I was injured, it actually helps out a little bit, covering costs and stuff like that. If I got to go for surgery, it looks like it's going to cover me for the surgery time and the more time I'm going to be out. I tore some muscles in my abdominals as well, so looks like it's going to be more than one surgery down the road for me. I'm not too happy about going to a knife. I don't think anyone is, but We'll see what happens when that time crosses, right? Um, so we covered the bases in the casinos and what I think is going to happen. I see that they have the applications out for the apprentices. They're asking for high-rise carpenters. I'll be straight up with you. Don't recommend it. I would never become a high-rise carpenter. I am hearing rumors that they're talking about merging 212 back into 157. I know 157 is having financial problems. I know 212 is having a membership shortage problem. They have pretty much no work in the high-rise industry. When I got into the business, there wasn't separation. It was just one local. So I don't know how that'll eventually work out with these mergers, if we'll end up back as one council, if there isn't a specialty local. Who knows? Who knows if we'll even be a district council going down the road, because if we don't have enough councils or locals, I don't consider the district council anymore. So someone says they might actually keep it, the concrete local, to keep that number up so that we are considered a district council. After the merger, we'll just be considered New York City District Council carpenters. Our benefits and pension funds and everything will come from a regional council. Once again, guys, I get what you're saying to me. I don't know the final details on how they're going to work this out. I can tell you how they do it in other parts of the country. It doesn't look good. All right. I try to say that in the election, but we move on from what the decisions are today. People are asking me, should I retire now? Guys, it don't matter whether you retire now, you don't retire. You can always retire. If you lose the medical and you need it, you put your tools back and go back to work. No one can stop you from going back. Keep your certs up to date, until you know what's going on, and until you hit 62, and then you can jump on Medicaid and you can ride that into the sunset. But unless you're out on a disability pension or something's up and you don't go on Medicare right away, I would say if you need it, I would go out and retire, take the chips where they lay today, and then if something changes down the road, you deal with it then, right? But we don't know. I don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. So, but my gut tells me we're going to lose it because we lost it throughout the country, and I don't see anyone fighting to keep it for us. We're throwing our hands up when it comes to that stuff. The cash work. If you're doing cash work, guys, be careful, especially if you're working for these contractors. Everybody's your friend. They see how they're paying you. If they're paying you in a check or they're actually giving you direct cash. It's not to be said if they're cutting a check for you and how they're cutting it for you. When the shit hits the fan, those checks reappear. It happened back in the day with Prince Contracting, a couple other contractors. They handed those paperwork and books over to the IRS. A lot of these members got screwed. They got fines and penalties from the IRS, had to pay back taxes, and a lot of stuff came out of that. So if you're playing those games and you do get caught, remember, there's consequences. So, I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do, just letting you know that there's consequences. I think the chance is highly unlikely that you will get caught. Very unlikely. Doesn't look like, back in the day, a steward would walk the floor, check the jobs, business agents. I don't think you got to see that anymore. I don't think anyone's dropping a dime on you. People just don't give a shit anymore, and that's what our business is at. So, a lot of these jobs open shop. I don't think anyone would really know. Kept your head down, put on a dark set of sunglasses, and don't worry about it. We had companies doing work at the Marriott in Midtown Manhattan, and they walk the other way. I don't think they're gonna, I doubt it. I doubt very much they're gonna do anything. Unless they'd be hard set to come and get you and deny. I guess is your best opportunity at that. And don't get caught. That's your best bet, right? You could do whatever. You can speed in a car. It's all right until you get pulled over, and then you're screwed, right? So have a good excuse. That's all I recommend for you. The benefit funds are the benefit funds. The more hours you work on the books, the more hours you pay into your benefits, the more your pensions is worth. And you can keep going with that and work with that to build your pension, your annuity. To me, that's more important and why you're part of this union and why you decide to become a union carpenter versus being a non-union carpenter. What else we got to talk about? I think that's about it, right? I think we hit about all the chords that have to be said about that. So, with that being said, if anybody is interested in being on my podcast, you guys can reach me by private message on Facebook if you want to. For those who want to, my email address is powers, POWERS, at 608.com. Send me an email. I'll send you some information. We'll set up a date. We'll do a podcast. However you want to do it, I'll give it my contestants that are on there, the people who are on there that I'm interviewing, whether you want to do a live podcast. Most of them probably will be live, and we'll air it through YouTube. I'll also post them on Facebook and social media accounts. And we could also do a pre-recorded one if that makes people feel uncomfortable. If people want to keep their identity hidden, I'll even be willing to give interviews to people like that who want to be behind a closed box screen. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get members out to feel comfortable to discuss what's going on in this industry. I want to talk to everybody, everyone in the trade, dock builders, timbermen, steam fitters, plumbers, electricians, anyone you know. If you think people are out there, people you know that are interested, that want to speak their mind and talk about what's going on in this industry, as well as non-union people. If we have some friends that are working on non-union jobs and people are being taken advantage of, I'm going to talk to some politicians, see if they want to come on, see if they, I don't know. We don't know until we ask, right? So we'll see where we go with this and see what we get out of it. It doesn't hurt to try, right? That's it. Everything in life is about opportunity and giving it a talk. I think if we clear the air and we open the channels, discussions, maybe we can all come up with a common ground. I think I still believe in unions. I still believe in our brothers and sisters are coming to this trade to learn the trade, and I think collective bargaining and getting, taking care of each other and building a pension and an annuity for the future. It's better for everybody in the long run, right? Anyone who's exploited these workers that come here and people aren't given the proper means to survive, they don't build a future for them, and who ends up paying for these people? Like these non-union workers that are out there, they'll end up in social services programs and all these programs that are paid for by us, the taxpayers, right? So we're getting pensions and annuities. When we go to retire, we're taken care of, or we end up in disability, we end up with social security disability. These people are working off the books, they get injured, they end up on welfare, and other government programs to protect them. And the contractors and developers are the ones who take advantage of it. We have prevailing rate jobs going on in the city. I became friends with a guy who's an attorney, who's good friends with the new mayor in the city. I'm going to reach out to him as well, see what he wants to do, see if we can get some information and see if anybody wants to discuss it with us. I had people that reached out to me on a contract in the city, prevailing rate, and the guys aren't getting prevailing rate on that job. That's a problem. The problem with different city agencies, everything from the Board of Ed to health and hospitals to housing, all these agencies, there's little contractors playing games everywhere. And there's nobody policing the work or policing these PLAs that are being signed into place. And maybe we bring it out in the open. Maybe we can get people accountable. Maybe we can have people above them answer questions and figure out a way where they can police this work and try to see if we can get the work that we've already have sitting there, that we're not getting the benefit hours from. We're not reaping the benefits of the work that's already there. When we talk about going after this new market share, we can't police the work we have. To me, it's pretty sad. But maybe we can correct it. We can't sit there and wait for someone else to correct it. Maybe we'll get out there and use our voice to do so. Can't hurt. That's my attitude. So with that being said, listen, I'm going to let everybody go. It's great talking to everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a new year. Let's hope for the best. Like I said, hopefully these casinos get going. We'll see how the funding goes. But I would put my money behind the one for the Metropolitan Park one over by Citi Field. I think that's the one that's going to hit the ground running. It's got the funding and the backing behind it. Spoke to a guy today. Looks like Scalamandri is going to do the footings and the foundations there. Looks like a major project for them. I don't know how it's going to be done by 2030. Sounds like a lot of work. Sounds like it'll be running on a lot of hours. But we'll see what happens. Let's see what this PLA sounds like, and we'll get an idea. Hopefully, if someone gets that new PLA that's being signed, send it to me. I want to know what it looks like, and we'll discuss it on one of these forums, all right? Once again, guys and ladies, brothers and sisters, have a good night, and stay in touch. Thanks.